Hi everyone, this is Arpad from the Star Path Academy YouTube channel. I want to do a quick video to explain that how I see the world is going to be different than how you see the world. How someone from China sees the world is going to be different how you or I see the world. Because we all have different backgrounds, cultural, family, and so on and so forth. And what I want to say to you about investing or real estate or inflation might not always be in tune with you, and that's fine. I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not giving you investment advice. All I want to do is help you understand how I see the world when it comes to empire. Now, I, as a young person, lived through the collapse of the Soviet Empire and went through hyperinflation in my home country. And I lived through some very interesting times as a young person, and that kind of shaped the whole perspective that I have on the world, on gold, on many, many other things, especially freedom. So what I want to show you today is kind of that exemplifies the theory or my theory of the empires falling apart at the seams. And as they are fall apart, they kind of shrink until there's nothing left and everyone runs to Rome into the center of the empire. But at some point that will give as well. Now, in Hungarian folklore, but also many other old stories, there's always the young boy or young person who goes out for 7 years to serve the king, and after 7 years come home, and many other folklore. There is the 7 year cycle, 7 years, 7 years, and that has its base in very, very deep mythology as well. But usually the business cycle is about 7, 8 years, interestingly. So what usually happens is there's an expansion of currency, expansion of wealth being pushed out to the edge of the empire. And as those assets and as those people produce and get wealthy, at some point there will come a time when the emperor wants his payback, where the emperor wants or the king wants everything back that he invested into these edge of the empires. So that is something that we can take a look at being played out right now. It is usually called harvest time, So so harvest moon, harvest time, whatever how you want to name it. Here, what I'm looking at is the gold chart in US dollars. And again, I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not selling gold. I'm not selling any investment products. I'm just here to say how I'm viewing at the world and how the world views back. So what we want to look at is just compare stuff. We're not too interested in details, numbers here, but just observing curves, basically. And I don't have any affiliate links or anything like that to gold investments. I don't care. I don't care if you invest in anything. There's so much many other things that are much more important than wealth and gold and monetary wealth, especially. However, let's take a look at this together. So what we're seeing here right now is the gold chart in US dollars. Now, I consider the US dollar and the United States as the center of the Western Empire as we stand today. So if you have invested gold, you were now in negative unless you invested back in May of or April in 2020. So that means 2 years we have experienced this high dollar value even before that. But that means this curve is basically flat. For the last 2 years, you went up and down, but it's flat because we have a strong dollar. But as we go and move over to the more edge of the empire, what we're going to observe that this curve starts to change. So let's take a look at that. So this is Canadian dollars, very, very similar. However, you can see the spikes are a bit different, almost the same. But you don't have to go back that far away. You can just go back to 21 November. Maybe you bought in May 21, or if you bought before, you would be really bad, right? So because you would be in the negative. So what I'm looking for is the relative difference between amounts of gold that you could buy with certain amount of currency of the local country that we're looking at. So that was Canadian dollar. Now we're looking at British pound. So you can see if British pound is almost, right now, we are almost tippity top. So you don't have to go back that far, but not just that. We're almost at all-time highs right now. So there would be very little, time frame here that where you could have been buying gold where you would still be in negative compared to the US dollar where you would be in the negative for a long time. So what does that mean? That means that the US dollar, so all currencies have fallen, compared to assets or compared to stuff that you could buy, including gold, including real estate and everything. However, many of these edge of the empire currencies, and we're not the edge yet, we're really in the center with the British pound. But as we're going to be progressing more outwards and outwards, you will see the difference how they have experienced inflation, like much more higher, a much different rate that you would be thinking of. So compared to them, compared to their currency, gold was a pretty good investment, right? Now we go to the euro. It's really looking similar, but even higher. So this part right here is higher than this peak was. Not so much here. So we're getting out and out and out. Now we go to the Japanese yen. It's not just we're almost all-time high. It looks like a really good increase. The slope towards the back of time looks pretty good, pretty decent. More and more we're getting out to the edge of the empire. My country, Romania, again, looks very different compared to the US dollar. So we're looking at the 5-year chart, right? Almost any time you would have bought, with the exception of 1 or 2 weeks here, you would be in the positive if you would have been purchasing gold. Another one would be the Turkish lira. So as you can see, this chart looks completely different. So there would have been very, very few times that you could have been gone wrong with gold, let's just say. So as we're moving more and more out towards the edge of the empire, we'll see this chart being very different than what we saw for the US dollars. And of course, let's just take a look at none other than the Libyan dinar, right? So this doesn't even look very similar to the rest of the charts, right? So immediately you can see the big differences from the center of the empire toward the edge of the empire and how that changes. So what can we conclude from this, right? Well, one thing that if whether viewed from the point of view of gold or maybe even other assets, even though you're thinking that you might be not doing as well as you would have been doing 4 years ago, 5 years ago, regarding economy, regarding well-being, or just the quality of life, the rest of the empire, where all this liquidity is being sucked back in with the raising of the interest rates back into the center, where there is harvesting time, by the king in olden times, they are doing much worse. So technically, you're in Rome and everything around Rome is burning, but you are still fiddling on the rooftops compared to many of the other countries. So what do you do with this information? Well, you have to make your own mind up on what to do with this. But I'm just saying there's a time difference between where the edge of the empire fails and that slowly progresses back to the center of the empire where everyone needs to pay. In that sense, and when I was young in Romania, I lived through very high inflationary times I would call hyperinflation, where I have seen many people lost everything, everything that they had, every savings that they have, and had to cut back on lifestyle to the degree that you would not believe. You now have time to do anything you want. I don't know how long that time will last, but I believe the waves are coming in, so you better do something about that. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.